having gone through Darwin's explanation, we haven't been able to reproduce macroevolution.
Yeah, and macroevolution I would define as the ability to encode entirely new information into the genome. It's not necessarily taking one genome from one species into another. No, it's Darwinian evolution if it's going to evolve entirely novel life forms, and life forms with even more genes than, say, the first cell. Then it's going to have to be able to basically come up with digital information in the DNA that codes for an entirely different kind of protein that folds into an entirely different kind of structure. That's the problem. The more we're learning about proteins, the more we're seeing that theory is thoroughly falsified. Nature can come up with new genes that code for useless proteins. Those are a dime a dozen. Those are very easy to come up with, trivially easy to produce a novel protein by evolution that does not produce a stable fold and has no function. It's extremely easy to do that. But for biological life, it requires for about 75% of the proteins, they have to fold into a stable three-dimensional structure that's unique to that protein. And it has to have some sort of function that'll carry out within the cell. And so that's a highly, highly specified problem. And it's very difficult to find proteins out there that fold into a stable three-dimensional structure. They're almost, the probability of finding one is so small that you would not expect to find one naturally occur anywhere in the universe in 10 billion years. That's how small they were for the average protein.
Okay, but let's say we found one.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say by chance, we found one.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just sitting there?
Well, that's the thing. It would just sit there because it also has to have a function. Let's say you went to an alien planet and you're walking around and here you find, hey, this is a 9/16 inch bolt laying on the ground here that just formed naturally from, the iron and nickel and whatever on the planet. And there you have it, a beautifully, nicely threaded 9/16 inch bolt. And in theory, you might be able to evolve an aircraft out of that, except if you got nothing to stick that bolt, there's no nut, for example, you got a problem. And that's why it's not good enough just to be fantastically lucky to find a protein somewhere, but also you have to be able to have something for it to do. And if there's nothing for it to do, that bolt is just slowly going to erode away back into the soil of the planet. There's nothing to preserve it. But in biological life, if a protein does something useful, that's especially if it's vital for the survival of that organism, it's going to be preserved. And any offspring that don't have that protein, they just won't make it. They'll just be eliminated. And those that have it will continue to reproduce and produce that same protein. So
so the chances of getting like two that are able to figure out how to work together, two organisms with these brand new DNAs that just magically happen or by chance on the same planet over billions and billions and millions of years. We know how big the Earth is. Like, how do we then say, okay, Darwin, in Darwin's mind, over billions of years, this is happening so often that the ones that survive are able to reproduce to the point that it continues?
Well, the probabilities become so fantastically small that it becomes very obvious very quickly, if you're actually going to crunch the numbers, that you will never get life on this planet or anywhere else in the universe. And that's what led Eugene Koonin to postulate, well, there must be an infinite number of universes then if we're going to come up with a natural explanation here. But this is where
there would have to be an infinite number of universes that could support life before even hitting
Yeah,
the
before even getting
life.
one that actually had life in it. Because of the fact that the mere fact you have an aquarium sitting in your living room full of water and stones, you may have to sit there for a long time before a fish evolves from individual molecules and appears in your aquarium. That'll be a long time. So it doesn't follow that because you got a universe that's capable of supporting life, that you're ever going to get life in it.